Hey man, it starts before you even know it's happening. A glance across the room. Not just any glance, the kind that makes your chest tighten, the kind where time seems to slow down and your instincts whisper, this one is different. And in that single moment, something shifts inside you. Your logical mind, the one that keeps you sharp, focused, grounded, it fades to the background like a voice drowned out by music. And a different program takes over, an ancient one you didn't install and one you can't control. The chase begins. But here's what you don't realize yet, what you won't realize for weeks, maybe months, maybe years. You're not chasing her. You're chasing the version of yourself that existed in her eyes during that one electric moment, the version of you that felt chosen, desired, valuable, and that's the trap. She didn't set it consciously, she didn't sit down and plan it, but it doesn't matter. The trap is set all the same, and you walked straight into it the moment you decided her attention meant something about your worth. Now the game begins, and I'm gonna show you exactly how it's played, so you never get caught in it again. The interest trap operates on one simple principle that most men never understand. Intermittent reinforcement creates addiction faster than consistent reward. Let me break that down so it hits you where it matters. When she first shows you attention, she does it fully. Eye contact that lingers. Laughter at things that aren't that funny. Compliments that make you feel like you finally won at something. She texts back quickly. She seems genuinely interested. She makes you feel like the most important person in her world. And you drink it in. Every drop. Because you've been thirsty for this. Maybe longer than you realize. But then something shifts. She pulls away. The texts slow down. The energy changes. She's suddenly busy. She responds with one word when she used to write paragraphs. She looks at her phone when you're talking. She cancels plans with excuses that don't quite add up. And in that moment, something happens inside your nervous system that changes everything. Your brain doesn't register this as she lost interest. Your brain registers this as withdrawal, literal chemical withdrawal. See, when she was giving you that attention, your brain was flooding with dopamine, the same chemical that fires when you take drugs. You were getting high on her interest, and now that she's pulled it away, you're experiencing a crash. But here's the vicious part. You don't interpret the crash correctly. You don't think, I'm having a chemical reaction to losing a stimulus? No, you think, I must have done something wrong. You replay every conversation, you analyze every text, you search for the glitch in your behavior that caused her to change, and you start doing something that seals the trap forever. You start trying to get the high back. That's when she knows she has you. Now, here's where it gets dangerous, because everything I just described, that's just the entry point. The trap hasn't even fully closed yet. What happens next is where most men lose themselves completely. Once you start chasing the feeling she gave you, you begin reorganizing your entire life around getting it back. You check your phone every few minutes. You craft texts carefully, trying to say the perfect thing. You start changing your schedule, your priorities, your personality, just to see if you can recreate that initial spark. And she watches, silently, measuring. She's not necessarily doing this maliciously. Most women don't even realize they're doing it, but at a deep, instinctive level, she's gathering data on you. She's figuring out exactly how much power she has over your emotional state. When you double text after getting no response, she learns you're hooked. When you over-explain yourself after she goes cold, she learns. You're afraid of losing her. When you try harder after she gives less, she learns that her attention is more valuable to you than your own dignity. And once she has that information, something shifts in her perception of you. You stop being a man she has to win. You become a man she already owns. Not through explicit control, not through manipulation she could name, but through the simple reality that your emotional state now depends entirely on her behavior. She says, "Hi," your whole week changes. She ignores you for a day, you spiral into self-doubt. That's not connection, that's enslavement. And you signed the contract the moment you made her attention the measure of your worth. Let me tell you what's really happening psychologically, because once you see it, you can never unsee it. Most men have a wound they don't know about, a wound that was created long before they ever thought about dating. When you were young, you learned something that nobody explicitly told. But that shaped everything you believe about yourself. If a girl likes you, you're valuable. If a girl doesn't like you, something is wrong with you. Think about it. In school, the boys who got attention from girls were respected. The ones who didn't were mocked. Social status, confidence, even self-worth, all of it got filtered through female approval before you were old enough to question it. So by the time you're a man, this equation is burned into your nervous system. Female interest, boss, I'm okay. Female rejection, well, I'm not enough. And the interest trap exploits this wound with surgical precision. When she gives you attention, she's not just making you feel good, she's making you feel worthy. And when she takes it away, she's not just withdrawing affection, she's withdrawing your sense of being okay as a human being. That's why her silence doesn't just feel like she's busy, it feels like annihilation. It feels like your value as a man is being revoked, and your inner child, the one who learned that girl's approval equals survival, panics. He doesn't want her love, he needs it to repair the wound that's been bleeding since childhood. That's the real trap. It was never about her, it was about the hole inside you that you've been trying to fill with her attention. Now watch what happens as the trap tightens. You start rationalizing, making excuses for her behavior, rewriting reality so you don't have to face what's actually happening. She cancels plans? She's just really stressed at work. She takes 8 hours to text back? She probably didn't see it. She's distant when you're together. Maybe I just need to try harder to make her comfortable. You start defending her, to your friends, to yourself, to anyone who suggests she might not be treating you well. You become her lawyer, building cases for her innocence while ignoring every piece of evidence. And here's the part that will break you if you let it. Your standards start to drop. The man you were before you met her, the one with self-respect, with boundaries, with a clear sense of his own value, that man starts to disappear. You begin accepting less and less. A text back once a day becomes enough. A half-hearted miss you after cancelling becomes enough. A single hour of her warmth becomes enough to sustain you through a week of coldness. You're no longer looking for a relationship, you're looking for crumbs. And the worst part is, you tell yourself it's love. You tell yourself that real love means sacrifice, means patience, means waiting for someone to come around. But that's not love. That's addiction pretending to be devotion. You're not honoring her. You're honoring your dependency on her, and every day you stay in that cycle, you lose more of the man you used to be. Here's the part women won't tell you. Not because they're evil, but because most of them don't consciously understand it themselves. The moment you start chasing, really chasing, something changes in how she perceives you. Before, when you were calm, grounded, focused on your own life, she was curious. She wondered what was going on in your head. She invested energy trying to figure you out, trying to get your attention, trying to break through to you. But the second you flipped, the second you started texting first every time, initiating every plan, explaining yourself whenever she seemed distant, asking if everything was okay, trying to prevent her from pulling away, she stopped seeing you as a man to pursue. She started seeing you as a resource to manage. You became predictable, and predictability kills attraction in women faster than almost anything else. See, female attraction isn't built on consistency, it's built on emotional intensity, on uncertainty, on not quite knowing where she stands. When you give her certainty, when she knows you'll always be there, always respond, always chase, always need her more than she needs you, the tension evaporates. And without tension, there's no desire, so she doesn't leave. Not yet, because having a man who's hooked on her feels good. It validates her, it gives her options, but she's no longer attracted to you. Not really. She's attracted to what you give her, attention, effort, emotional labor, validation, and the more you give, the less she respects the source. That's the brutal irony of the interest trap. The harder you try to win her, the less winning her is worth. Let me show you what control looks like when she knows you're fully in the trap. She gets colder, not cold enough to make you leave. That would end the game, but cold enough to keep you on edge. She responds to texts, but late. She agrees to plans, but cancels often. She says, I miss you, right after ghosting you for 2 days. She flirts with other men on social media, but tells you there's no one else. These aren't contradictions, they're precision instruments. She's keeping your nervous system in a perpetual state of arousal, dopamine spikes followed by crashes, hope followed by disappointment, warmth followed by cold, and every crash bonds you deeper. Because here's something counterintuitive about human psychology. Your brain doesn't attach to comfort, it attaches to intensity. The roller coaster is more memorable than the carousel, so even though the relationship is making you anxious, confused, and insecure, your brain interprets all that intensity as evidence that this must be real. I feel so much, it must be love. No, it's not love, it's trauma bonding. You've become addicted to the chaos because your nervous system has confused emotional dysregulation for passion. She's not your soulmate, she's your dealer, and every time she gives you a hit of attention after days of withdrawal, you bond to her more deeply, not despite the pain, but because of it. Now let me tell you about the moment that will show you how deep the trap goes. It's not when you're with her, it's when you try to leave. You tell yourself you're done, you've had enough, you're moving on, but then you find yourself checking her social media, looking for signs, reading old messages, trying to find hidden meaning, posting things you hope she'll see, checking if she's watched your story. You might even block her, but then you check to see if she found a way around it. You tell yourself you're over her, but one like, one view, one comment, and your whole chest tightens again. That's how you know the trap isn't about proximity, it's about identity. She doesn't need to be in your life to own a piece of your mind. She just needs to have convinced you, at some point, that her attention means something about who you are. And that belief doesn't disappear when she does. It lives in your nervous system, scanning for her approval, even when your conscious mind has moved on. You're not missing her. You're missing the version of yourself that existed when she looked at you like you mattered. And until you reclaim that version, until you learn to source your worth from within, you'll carry the trap with you into every relationship that follows. So how do you escape? Not through willpower, not through revenge, not through finding someone better to replace her. You escape by dismantling the trap at its foundation, and the foundation is this: your belief that female attention determines your value. As long as that belief is running, any woman can activate the trap. It doesn't matter how strong you think you are. It doesn't matter how many lessons you've learned. If your sense of self is still wired to female approval, you are permanently vulnerable. The escape is what I call emotional sovereignty. It means your emotional state is no longer up for negotiation. No woman, no matter how beautiful, no matter how initially interested, no matter how skilled at the game, can move you off center. She pulls away, you notice, but you don't spiral. She comes back warm, you appreciate it, but you don't attach your worth to it. She plays hot and cold, you see it for what it is, a test of your foundation, and you pass by simply not reacting. This isn't about being cold. It's not about hating women or seeing them as enemies. It's about becoming so grounded in your own purpose, your own value, your own mission, that her games become irrelevant. When you reach that point, something remarkable happens. You stop being a man who can be trapped, and you start being a man who is chosen, not because you performed correctly, but because you held your ground when everything told you to fold. Here's the inversion that will blow your mind once you see it. The same women who trapped you, the ones whose games worked on you for months or years, when you become sovereign, when you stop reacting, when your emotional climate becomes self-regulated, they start chasing you, not because they changed, because you did. Your silence becomes louder than their manipulation. Your calm becomes more magnetic than their chaos. Your indifference to their tactics becomes the most attractive thing about you. Because here's the truth no one says. Women don't fall for effort, they fall for presence. Not constant contact, presence. Not emotional availability, emotional certainty. Not trying to win them, knowing you've already won yourself. When she tests you, and she will test you, and you don't react, don't chase, don't collapse into neediness, something shifts in her. Respect replaces manipulation, attraction replaces control, pursuit replaces indifference, and suddenly you're not the man waiting to be chosen. You're the man doing the choosing. Not from bitterness, not from revenge, but from the unshakable knowing that your time, your energy, your attention, these are currency, and they go only to those who earn them. Now let me leave you with the final truth. The interest trap was never about her. It was never about her beauty, her charm, her mystery, her games. It was about you. It was about the wound you carried before you ever met her. The childhood programming that linked female approval to self-worth. The hole in your identity that you kept trying to fill with external validation. She was just the one who found the wound and pressed on it. And as long as that wound remains, another woman will find it. And another, and another. The only way out is into the wound itself, into the childhood belief, into the desperate need to be chosen that has been running your life since before you knew what love was. You have to face it, heal it, replace it with something unshakable. Your mission, your purpose, your own unbreakable sense of worth that exists regardless of who wants you. That's the man who can never be trapped. Not because he's avoiding women, not because he's built walls, but because he's built a foundation so solid that no one can pull it out from under him. He doesn't hate the game, he sees through it. He doesn't resent women, he understands them. He doesn't avoid connection, he just refuses to die for it. So ask yourself right now, is there a woman in your life, or in your past, who still owns real estate in your mind? Someone you check on, someone you still think about, someone whose attention you're still at some level waiting for? If the answer is yes, the trap is still active, not because she's special, not because the connection was real, but because somewhere inside you, her interest is still linked to your identity. And until you sever that link, you'll never be free. You'll keep chasing, keep hoping, keep constructing versions of love that are really just addiction in disguise. But if you do the work, if you reclaim your center, rebuild your worth, rewrite the story of who you are and what you need, everything changes. You stop seeing women as puzzles to solve or prizes to win. You start seeing them as people, some worth your time, most not. You stop performing for attention, you start living for purpose. And the right woman, the one who sees your value because you already know it yourself, she won't try to trap you, she'll try to keep up with you. Let this be the line you draw. Before this, you were unaware, you were conditioned, you were vulnerable to games you didn't know were being played, but now you know. You know how the trap is set, you know how it tightens, you know how it keeps you weak, clingy, desperate for approval that was never going to fill the hole, and knowing is the first step to immunity. From this moment forward, you can choose differently. You can stop chasing the high, stop medicating your wounds with her attention, stop giving your power to anyone who flashes a smile and then goes cold. You can start building something unshakable inside yourself, a center that holds, a purpose that drives, a sense of worth that exists before any woman validates it. That's the man who escapes, that's the man who wins, not by fighting the trap, by outgrowing it, not by hating women, by understanding them without needing them, not by becoming cold, by becoming complete. So walk away from the trap today, not because she let you go, but because you chose to leave, because you chose yourself. And from that place of sovereignty, no beauty, no glance, no whispered promise will ever own you again. You'll see the trap being set from a mile away, and you'll smile, because you remember when it used to work on you. But that man is gone, and the one who remains grounded, centered, whole, he doesn't react, he leads. And nothing, not beauty, not games, not the oldest trick in the book, can ever make him kneel again.